Did you know? Well folks, the Rugby World Cup is upon us and I'm very excited. The highest stage in the greatest sport on this planet has come here to England for 2015. Indeed, in a few days' time, New Zealand will be playing Tonga at Newcastle United Football Ground, just up the road from me. And in London, on Saturday, we saw an amazing game of rugby unfold between England and Wales, which Wales won, rather heroically. In the opening ceremony of this World Cup, we were treated to a reenactment of the origins of rugby, when a young boy called William Webb Ellis picked up a football and ran with it. Supposedly, this event occurred in a school in the town of Rugby in Warwickshire. According to the opening ceremony, Webb Ellis literally ran with his instincts, catching the ball and running with it. There is a plaque on school grounds attesting to this event occurring around 1823, and from there rugby grew to what we know and love today. However, as you might expect, things aren't necessarily that simple. For example, the Romans and Greeks had several ball games. Some apparently resembled football, but one in particular was called harpaestum. This word is the Latinization of the ancient Greek, linked with concepts such as carrying away, seizing, or snatching. The game is described by various ancient writers, and though it used a small round ball, it seems to have closely resembled what we might call rugby. Indeed, across the world and at various times, similar games have been played involving ball carrying and scrummaging. Indeed, for many hundreds of years, even football or soccer was an incredibly violent game. So, I hear you cry, why William Webb Ellis? Why does he get the credit for inventing rugby? Well, the first account of this young man breaking the rules of football comes from the rugby school's own magazine, The Meteor. It was here, in 1876, that antiquarian and rugby school old boy Matthew Bloxham wrote that rugby originated with a town boy or foundationer of the name of Ellis, Webb Ellis. This assertion was followed up in 1880 by Bloxham in a letter. A boy of the name Ellis, William Webb Ellis, a town boy and a foundationer, whilst playing big side at football in that half year, 1823, caught the ball in his arms. This being so, according to the rules, he ought to have retired back as far as he pleased, without parting with the ball, for the combatants on the opposite side could only advance to the spot where he had caught the ball, and were unable to rush forward till he had either punted it or had placed it for someone else to kick. For it was by means of these placed kicks that most of the goals were in those days kicked. But the moment the ball touched the ground, the opposite side might rush on. Ellis, for the first time, disregarded this rule, and on catching the ball, instead of retiring backwards, rushed forwards with the ball in his hands towards the opposite goal. With what result as to the game, I know not. Neither do I know how this infringement of a well-known rule was followed up, or when it became, as it is now, a standing rule. It seems that no one really suggested that Webb Ellis had created rugby until 4 years after his death in 1872, and Bloxham's accounts do differ slightly in their details, so make of it what you will. However, a year before his death, in 1871, English clubs had met to form the first rugby football union. And today, Webb Ellis's name adorns the Rugby Union World Cup, the Webb Ellis Cup, which teams from across the globe are currently competing for. So, even though the urge to run with a ball may be an ancient one, and the particulars surrounding Webb Ellis's story are a little open for discussion and debate, the legacy of this young man's actions is a worthy one. As the theme for the Rugby World Cup says, a world in union. Rugby union.